Well, good afternoon. It is Saturday, a little after 7 here in Jackson, 5 o'clock back home in California. I want to talk about The Hidden Fortress, directed by Akira Kurosawa, starring Toshiro Mifune, and an actress in her late 20s that was a Japanese gal, which I don't know her name, and a lot of his members of his stock company. And The Hidden Fortress, if you're a person who doesn't know anything about foreign movies, and you don't like foreign movies, and you don't like reading subtitles, and you want to watch a movie of great art and great quality, this is what I would recommend. The two Japanese characters that start the film off, it starts out in a very stark landscape, a war-torn place, and these two guys are out there and they're fighting amongst themselves. And many say, I think even Mr. Lucas admits this, that Mr. Lucas said that this inspired the CP03 and that little bitty, those two little characters, the round little character and the gold character that bantered back and forth. He says it was inspired by these characters in Hidden Fortress. And they're just really to no accounts. I mean, that's all you can call them. They lie. They lie when the truth would be better. And they're cowardly, but they're very comedic. They're very funny. And they're in a hell of a bad shape. They're in the middle of a war, and you can't hardly blame them for acting the way they do, because they're just trying to survive. And they provide a great amount of comic relief, and they are enlightened as the movie comes on, and they are very, very powerful people in the film. I don't want to give anything away, but you know, somebody gets enlightened in every movie, or somebody changes in almost every movie, or it's not a good movie. It's not art, because that's what movies are about. Movies are about enlightenment. They're about people changing. They're about character changes. They're about events that affect people that change you. That's what they're about. Now, a lot of films, you know, like the work of Ozu, which I talked about Tokyo Story the other day. I don't know, in some of his films, he may have not ever got any enlightenment in his films. The character was either an enlightened person or they weren't. But he's a special case. There's very few people like Ozu. There's very few directors. There's very few people that have the kind of vision that he had. And I don't think that Kurosawa, not to belittle his vision, but Kurosawa was a man who believed in the heroic view of life. He believed that life was a struggle. He believed that some were strong and some were weak, and you had to overcome difficult circumstances. These were the people he had, and he was very existential. You know, I love the David Mamet line. He says, I don't know what existentialism is, but I know it's cool. That's what Brother Mamet said. So, and his stuff is existential. But let's get back to Hidden Fortress. I don't think that you ever had a better role for Mr. Mifune. Mr. Mifune played a soldier. He played an expert samurai, if you will, an expert swordsman. And there's a beautiful scene of swordsmanship in the film that's beautiful. It's very well laid out, and it's awesome to watch. And it's about halfway through, and you will just dig it. It's really good. But for me, the young princess that some say Princess Leia was dedicated to, she steals the movie. She is royalty. She is dignity. She is bravery. She is goodness. Mr. Kurosawa was not afraid to take strong women in his films. You know, his masterpiece, Ran, which is his greatest film, maybe the greatest film ever made, there was a very strong female character in it. She was a samurai almost. She showed expert marksmanship with a sword. So he was not afraid. He liked henpecked husbands. He liked weakness in men. He did that a lot in his films. But there's no weakness in Mr. Mifune. None in this character. This man is heroic. He's a swordsman. He is everything. And he is not at all ambiguous in this film. He is completely what he is. And Mr. Kurosawa, this is pretty much a matinee type film. This is a movie you're going to feel good about it. You're going to enjoy it. There's a few moments of sadness, but you're going to feel very, very happy about the film. And it's in black and white, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And it's called The Hidden Fortress, and many say Star Wars was based upon it. But I'm not going to give anything away. But the theme of the film is what was the theme in all of Kurosawa's films. He had a basic theme in all his movies. He said, why can't we be happier? Why can't we be nicer to each other? Why can't we be kinder to each other? That's what plagued him. He didn't understand that. He didn't understand why we couldn't be kind to each other, why we couldn't be better to each other. And that was a big theme in his films. And some of his later work, the guy was just a downright communist. The guy was just a downright leftist. Dreams is a very left-wing film. So I don't know about Mr. Kurosawa's films. One of his films that he made right after the war was still being made. It was a pro-Japanese film that had Japanese propaganda in it. I saw that one, Her Most Beautiful Face or something. But this is a great work. This is possibly better than Seven Samurai, possibly better than Ran, possibly better than Kagemusha, possibly better than any of those films. Than Yojimbo? I don't think so. But Mr. Kurosawa did not consider this an art film. He said if it's a good film, you'll want to watch it. He didn't believe in, I'm making art this time. This time I'm trying to... He didn't do that. He made a movie that he wanted to make. And he almost killed him. He tried to kill himself when he was 60 because he couldn't make movies. He really liked to make movies. He didn't want to talk about movies. He didn't want to have interviews about them. He didn't want to speak about them. He's a lot like Woody Allen because you won't see a commentary with Mr. Allen. He never talks about anything. He just wants to make them. He don't want to talk about them. So, anyway, if you want to start with a great film and a great director, Hidden Fortress. Out.